This is the second half of 4-6, completing the square. What you're going to see today is, unlike yesterday, a is not equal to 1, right? So we're going to have to solve by completing the square, and a is not equal to 1, so it ain't going to be pretty, right? So to complete the square, we have to make a 1. So this first one's not so bad, actually. So to make a 1, we could start by dividing everything by 3. So that gives us a new problem of x squared minus 4x plus 2 equals 0. So to complete the square, we know that we have to have ax squared plus bx. So we would move this 2 out of the way, take them to the other side. So we would have, I'll just go up here. We have x squared minus 4x plus, save a seat for magical c, equals negative 2. So b is negative 4, half it is negative 2, negative 2 squared is 4, so I'm adding 4 to both sides. So then I'd have my x minus 2 quantity squared equals negative 2 plus 4 would be 2. To get rid of the square, I would square root. So I'm at x minus 2 equals positive negative square root of 2. Hello. Hi. What's that? This is still 4-6, completing the square. I just do it in 2 days because this part is a little bit more difficult because you're going to work with a lot of fractions. Because what's going to happen here is you can see that a is not equal to 1, right? A is not equal to 1. And to complete the square, a has to be 1. So this first one's it's not too bad. It works out nice. So if I don't want this 3 in front of my x squared, I could divide it out, right? Divide everything by 3. So then I've created a new problem of x squared minus 4x plus 2 equals 0. So that was not too bad because we did not get fractions. So it's kind of a little like a review of yesterday. So then we have to get our x squared plus bx. We're going to move that 2 to the other side. We're looking at x squared minus 4x plus, save a seat for magical c, equals negative 2. Remember, magical c is half of b squared. B is negative 4. Half it is negative 2. Squared is 4. We'd add 4 on both sides. So then we factor our perfect square trinomial. We've got x minus 2 quantity squared equals negative 2 plus 4 is 2. To get rid of our square, we would square root. We have x minus 2 equals, we have to consider positive and negative, radical 2. So then to get x alone, we'll add the 2 over. So our exact solution would be x equals 2 plus or minus radical 2. If you wanted to approximate solutions, you can figure out what the square root of 2 is, add that to 2, and then do 2 minus that decimal also. All right, so let's look at the next one here. So a still has to be 1. So that 9 is not working for me. So to get rid of that multiply by 9, I would divide everything by 9. And you can see this one is not going to be so pretty. Because now I have x squared minus 12 over 9 would reduce to 4/3 x minus 2 over 9 would be 2 over 9 equals 0. So we could get the 2/9 out of the way. So we've got x squared minus 4/3 x plus, save a seat for magical c, equals 2/9. Not as pretty this time, right? We've got, I'm going to go over here, magical c, we've got negative 4/3. So when I half that, I'm looking at negative 4/6, which is really negative 2/3, right? And when I square negative 2, I get 4. When I square 3, I get 9. So magical c here is 4/9. So I'd add that to both sides. So I'm at x minus half of 4/3, we just found out is 2/3, right? Squared equals 2/9 plus 4/9 would be 6/9, which is 2/3. So then to get rid of my square, I would square root. So I'm sitting at x minus 2/3 equals positive negative square root of 2/3. So then to get rid of the minus 2/3, I add it. So my final answer would be x equals 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 2/3. look at one more. Same game. A has to be 1, not 4. So I could start by dividing everything by 4. So then I'm looking at x squared plus 5x plus 1/4 equals 0. Move the 1/4 out of the way. I'm looking at x squared plus 5x plus, save a seat for magical C, equals negative 1/4. Not going to be as pretty. So magical C, I have 5. Half of 5 is 5/2 squared. Well, 5 squared is 25 over 2 squared is 4. So magical C is 25 over 4. I'm going to add 25 over 4 to both sides. So I'm sitting at x plus half of 5 would be 5/2 squared equals negative 1/4 plus 25 over 4. Oh, that's going to be pretty, right? Because that'd be 24 over 4. 24 over 4 would be 6. So now I would square root to get rid of my square. So I have x plus 5/2 equals positive negative. Let's see, there's no pairs in 6. So I'm at radical 6. So then I will be done to get 5/2 to the other side. X equals negative 5/2 plus or minus radical 6. And again, if you wanted to, that's the exact solution. If you wanted to approximate solutions, you could round radical 6 and do negative 5/2 plus radical 6, whatever that decimal is, and then also subtract it. So the game with these is you first have to divide by A and then work through because A has to be 1 in order to complete the square.